Well, to talk through the significance of that for the police, I'm joined here by Peter Kirkham, who's a former Chief Inspector from the Metropolitan Police. He's here with me now. So, Peter, first of all, the threat level has been raised then to its highest level of critical. What is the significance of that for police?
The significance of that is it's something that's used very rarely, and it's where they've got realistic, believable evidence or information, intelligence to the effect that an attack is imminent. In these circumstances, I suspect the issue is that they've had an attack, the attacker is not accounted for, the attacker's still at large, and if you can make one device, you can make 2, 3, 10. And so that, I think, will be their primary concern, and until the attacker's detained, I suspect it will stay at the same level. And
we did see the terror threat raised to this level in the aftermath of the Manchester attack. That came down after a matter of days. What needs to happen in order for the threat level to be lowered again?
Basically, they need to identify who is involved, what is involved, whether there is any continuing threat from those individuals, if they're at large, that they've been detained. So they have the situation under control, they understand it, and they've got people in custody. That will, I think, be the key to the matter.
And as part of that raised threat level, something called Operation Templar goes into place, as we understand it. The way the Prime Minister described it, she talked about there being extra military deployed to help the police do their work. What will those military personnel be doing?
My understanding is, realistically, it will make a marginal difference to the number of police officers available. Last time we saw it used, military were deployed on static guarding points where armed officers would have been guarding, so military establishments and various other fixed points, not on patrols or anything like that. They've got no powers similar to constables, and so that would be a very drastic step. So they'll just free up the constables from those posts to come and assist.
So we're unlikely to see military on the streets?
I would be extremely surprised to see military on the streets, yes. They'll be on fixed points.
However, we have been told by several officials that people living in London are more likely to see armed officers on transport systems. To what extent are the numbers going to be increased of armed officers, and what role will they be playing?
The numbers are not going to be increased at all. All that's going to happen is they'll be focused on the transport system at the moment, so they'll be drawn from somewhere else. There's not a new cupboard full of police officers to draw on, armed or otherwise. These officers behind us, they're not on duty at Croydon tonight, they're here. So there's a big hole in policing elsewhere. And the same applies with the armed officers. They're not extra officers, they're additional patrols in a particular place, but they're drawn from somewhere else. They'll have had their rest days cancelled. They'll be working back up to the 16-hour shifts. They're just getting back to normal after the previous attacks, and now they've got this, and they'll be back on 16-hour back-to-back shifts for days on end. That's a health and safety issue. The government are playing fast and loose and basically being criminally negligent with the safety of the public. We don't let HGV drivers drive for hours on end because there's a danger of fatigue, and yet we've got armed officers that are going to be doing 12, 14, 16-hour shifts for days on end. It is a risk, and it is irresponsible of the government. They need to reverse the cuts to policing. It is as simple as that.
So you have deep concerns about the extent to which you feel that the police are being stretched. Let's look at the work itself that they have to do to investigate this. Obviously a complicated investigation, but they do at least have a device that appears to be largely intact, still on board that train that's behind us there. Will that help them at least in pursuing the person responsible?
It will help in terms of the investigation. It will give them loads of information that they'll be able to follow up. But the information's no use if you haven't got any officers to follow it up. And so that will actually draw in more officers in to assist this investigation because they have got so much to do. It will probably lead to the person being identified relatively quickly. Then hopefully they'll be located relatively quickly. Then there'll be all the work around detaining them, searching premises, sweeping up all their associates and whatever, and finding out exactly what's going on. But it will take a lot of officers a lot of time. There are still officers working on the Westminster case, on the London Bridge case, on Grenfell Tower, not terrorism but another major incident. They'll be there for weeks, months and years, and they're not doing other things while they're doing that.
OK, well, Peter Kirkham, we appreciate your time here this evening and giving us your views on this ongoing police investigation here at Parsons Green tube station.